In today's video, we're going to talk about attributes and events. We're going to go through what they are and when you should use one versus the other. So let's jump right into it. So you can see all of your attributes and events from something called the data index. So on the left-hand side, I go to data and integrations, data index, and it gives me both of these sections of attributes and events. Let's start with attributes. So attributes are like fields in other marketing automation platforms. HubSpot calls them properties. There's a lot of variety of names that other systems use. In Customerio's case, they call them attributes. But Customerio actually treats them a little bit differently than, or they're set up differently than many other systems. So they do the same thing. They store values that describe a person. They're tied to people records. So you can see some of the examples here: state, zip, country, and they describe somebody. So if I'm in this system, I could have values of country equals United States, state in Utah, and so forth. But they're set up a little bit differently. So like, for example, if you're used to other marketing automation systems, like let's say HubSpot, for example, if you were to set up a property in HubSpot, you'd actually have to go to the admin section of the app, create a new property. You would tell it what kind of data type is going to be stored there, like a date or a text field. And then when you've finished setup, that property is now available across all customers to use and put in values. And if you were to pull up a customer record, you'd actually see whether or not they have a stored value or a blank value for that field, property, whatever. An attribute in Customerio, however, there is no direct setup. So, for example, let's look at my record here. These are the attributes that I have. Now you can see I've only got 5 listed here. In our data index, there is this many. There's like, what is this, 10? 9? We've got 9 attributes, and you can only see 5 of them on my record. So what the data index shows you is that across all of the people within your database, these are the attributes that they have associated with them. And they are uniquely defined by their name. So if I were to come in here and I can edit my attributes, you see I still don't see the same fields or attributes that I see here. So they're not automatically essentially created for each individual. You can see there's available attributes that I can use here, and if I were to then add it, then you can see now I've got the country attribute. I can specify a value. Null can be a value, but by default, a null value of country isn't created for me. Okay? What this also means is there's no admin setup for attributes. I can go ahead and just create a blank new one. If I were to say something silly like country 2, there's no problem there. And country 2 isn't going to be set up automatically for everybody else. It will show up as an available attribute. Customerio will recognize that I've created that attribute for other people in case I want to use it again. But there's no like admin setup. I don't select data types and so forth. It's just stored value, okay? So attributes, what I like to think of attributes is like they are who you are, right? They describe you in some way. Events are what you do. So I have a test one in here called app login, and the example here is these events describe activities or things that the person does within your realm of existence in Customerio. Events specifically are something you set up as a marketing user or dev in Customerio of things that your users have done, right? So app login is an example of something that I would do, like a user would do. I would log into the app, and when that happens, I want to create an event for that is stored in Customerio. It's something I do. It doesn't really describe me, It's an action that I took. Let's say within my app, there's another event called start recording, right? Like this recording. So as soon as I hit start recording in my web app, I'd want to log that as an event against my profile in Customerio, okay? They're uniquely, again, just on their name, and they will eventually show up in activity logs under a customer record. So you can see that the activity type is event here, and that's tied to my record. Events are built by us as like a company that we want to log in Customerio. Other kinds of activities can show up here, like email opens, and if you filter here, you can actually see all the different kinds of activities that are available. Most of them have to do with, like either email actions or workflows in campaigns. But once you build out your essentially library of activities of actions that your users are going to do, a lot of the activities will show up as events. So the basic rule is attributes are something that describes your user. Events are something that your user does, and it's easy to conflict the two. A lot of dev teams kind of sort of by default, I can show you a bad example, right? And even I did for this. So this Gumroad purchase, right? That is actually something that somebody does. They purchase an item on Gumroad. I would want to log that as an event rather than an attribute. In this case, as an attribute, it might make sense that I'd want an attribute to show whether or not they've ever made a purchase regardless of products. So that's not like a moment in time event. That does describe the person. So in that case, a Gumroad purchase would equal true or false. And I could segment these people based on whether or not they've ever bought something on Gumroad, okay? So that's essentially the difference between attributes and events. Attributes describe somebody. Events are something a user does. And try to keep your database clean by limiting your values to, or limiting your attributes and events to those types of activities. All right, until next time, we'll see you.